Let's talk about the beading activity. Now, the beading activity comes with a needle, a wooden needle, also called as an insert, and a long thread. So what we have done is we have tied it up to make it shorter, because for little kids around 18 months of age, they need the thread to be shorter. But as they grow older, you can untie this thread can become longer, or you can adjust it as per your child's need. You can simply cut it and then tie a knot at the end, but begin with a small needle. Now, this beading activity comes with a set of rings and different shapes. Again, keeping geometry in mind, because Montessori activities are holistic, they're educational. So they are fundamentally to educate a child early on about concepts without having to give them formal education, because you can't do that with a newborn and an infant, that you just sit with them with a book and do that. Of course, that does not mean that you cannot introduce these concepts earlier. Look, no one likes their children to struggle later in school, and we don't know, what kind of support they may get at school despite sending them to the best of schools. So this is where introducing educational toys come in very handy, wherein you're not giving them a formal education, because like I said, it's not possible. But when they play with activities which, by the sheer act of playing with those toys, educates them on their own. So there is no parent doing the formal education, but the child learning by themselves. So when they are putting a cube like this, a perfectly shaped cube, through an insert, they're holding it in their hand. They're looking at a ring in their hand. They're looking at a cylindrical shape in their hand. And it's important that children see these shapes, which is actually what is around them in daily life. So it's important that children hold their things in their hand and see and feel it, because they learn sensorially. So if they are not holding actual items, and not plastic, this is wooden, so when they see it, they can feel it as well. And if they put it in their mouth, that's fine, because this is non-toxic paint, water-based paint, so it's not going to harm them in any way. So when you introduce the beading activity, you bring only one circle at a time. So you don't need to introduce any of these in the first go. So we'll keep it aside. So you just bring it like this. Sorry. And then you take the needle and you take the ring and you put the needle through the ring, or you can hold the needle straight and you can put the circle through the ring. But you only move one hand at a time. So you either hold the ring and you put the needle through it, or you put the bead through the needle and then you move your hand and let this thing move down. And then you can take it out and demonstrate it a few times, but do it using the show principle, which is slow hands omit words, and do it extremely slowly, and then leave it down for your child to have a go. And once they have mastered the activity of putting one ring, that's when you bring in another ring. And once they have mastered the activity of doing 2 rings at a time, is when you can bring 2 more rings, and then slowly, steadily, you ensure that they have all the shapes together. And just doing this activity could take a week, 2, or longer, but doing this activity will take them from being a novice to a master, because now they would be able to put all the shapes. And once they have mastered this activity, you can untie the knot and make it longer, because then they'll have to drag the rings or the shapes to the end. Another way to do it is to do it blindfold, but that's at a later stage when they are 3.5, 4 years old, where their eyes are closed and they take it and they try to figure out where the needle is, find the shape and put it inside the needle. So proprioception is the skill which we all have as adults, because we've developed it over the years. When we're asleep, our alarm goes off, and even in our sleep we're able to find our alarm and put it off. That's called proprioception. But children need time to develop that skill, and of course it will develop over a period of time, but doing activities which they have mastered blindfold develops that skill in a more potent way in them. Happy learning!